Hey team, what's cracking? Good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to this page, make sure you go back a couple of steps, just catch up where we are. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, do all that jazz. In this episode, I just want to talk a little bit about technology and how technology has changed for me. Everyone's got their own views on things. These are just mine, so just bear that in mind. Anyway, in one of my earlier videos, I mentioned how I never had tracking gear, but I actually want to go back a step further than that. And one thing that could have changed everything for me was these bad boys. Set of electric collars. If you haven't got electric collars, I suggest you get some, especially if you're hunting on a farm, anywhere where there's pests, which as hunters we do. We run into goats, deer, rabbits. I could have saved myself a lot of time, a lot of frustration, because the amount of times Chop caught me goats, he chased rabbits, you name it, he did it. I could have fast-tracked by having a set of electric dog collars, so I suggest purchasing some of them. Now, I'm not a promoter for anybody's gear. Everyone's got their own ideas on what works for them, but I've got the Garmin Pro 70s with the PT10s, so, and they work there. I've got a 2K radius. Yeah. Anyway, getting back onto the old tracking gear subject. Back in those early days, I never had tracking gear, and the amount of frustrations leaving dogs out on the hills, having to go back the next day because I've left a jersey out there to go and find my dog, could have been simply saved if I had some of these. Now, these things are incredible. The very first tracking gear that I think might have came out was the one with the big aerial. I think after that might have been the one with the beep beep gear, and that was about as helpful as tits on a bull. But the very first gear that I had was the Garmin Astro 220 and the DC 30s and 40s. Now, to me, those were the elite gear, but unfortunately they made them illegal here in New Zealand, so yeah, that was a bit of a no-go, but I thoroughly enjoyed those collars. Now, having those tracking gear, I never left a soldier out on the hill. I think there was only once I ever left Chop out there, and that was due to my own dumb fault because I deleted his collar off the unit. So, and there's one thing about Chop, there was no such thing as a quick hunt. If you were going out there for a hunt, you were prepared to be out there for hours because, yeah, he was pretty dedicated. If there's one thing that dog was good at, it was running pigs into the ground. And, yeah, become quite frustrating at times. But how these collars and units have changed how we hunt. They've got all their maps and stuff in, and it's a beauty now because they've got the electric prongs in them. So you've pretty much got your electric collar and your tracking collar all in one. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to prove that how valuable these collars were, because the pig in this next clip, Chop chased around for 18 Ks, and by having the old Astro 220, I managed to be just in the right spot at the right time when the ball come up on the track with Chop followed behind it, and it was all over. He pulled it on the track. So yeah, if I hadn't had the tracking gear, that pig might have got away. Anyway, you know our motto: if you can't be good at it. Fake it till we make it, and you only get out what you put in. See you out there on the hill. Good boy, Chop. Man, we've chased this a long way. It's come from over the aerials, and we're now over in Maringi, and it was heading back. Good boy, Chop. Hey? To add a little bit more uniqueness to that boar, this is the jaw out of him all these years later. As you can clearly see, both tusks are snapped off both sides. I don't know what he'd been doing. Maybe he'd been digging up rocks. Yeah, probably one of the most fascinating jaws I've ever caught. Yeah, he went 136 pound and definitely knew how to run.